meat and curry, I'm your man. Cause how we'll lose it is a mystery. It's like the changing of our wardrobes from a dire history. But it's the one making us not stop. 50 kilograms is all we've got to drop. La 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 la, la 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 la.
You're our first guest.
Come on.
How does it feel?
Incredible. I mean,
Sophie, like, reading your profile, there was an advert actually that popped up on LinkedIn, and I was like, do you know what? That is a phenomenal situation to be in. So from our kind of brief research, you were in recruitment before. Like, both me and Bob have been in recruitment for, I'm 13 years. You're about 8 now, Bob, right?
Yeah, it's coming up to.
It's a desk job that has loads of hours just sitting around, mentally straining. So you can really lose some energy and some enthusiasm. And then, as you can tell, we were once, underwear models and the likes. And then the recruitment stone turned into a recruitment 10 stone, drinks after work, unhealthy lifestyle, that sort of stuff all just kind of eroded any hopes of getting back to that model years. And we said this year, enough's enough. We need to lose some weight. So I'd love to hear everything about your kind of career, where it all started, and also this kind of journey that you've been on, because I think we're both at a point where we dream about that quite a lot. We don't put it into reality.
Sort of in my early years in education, 18, 19, didn't do very well at my A-levels, went to university and dropped out after about 6 months. So, it wasn't looking too good for me at 18 years old, if I'm being completely honest. And seeing the adverts on Reed for 100k OTE. And I mean, who's not going to go for that when they're 18? It actually was quite tough for me to get into recruitment because I had to just lie my way in, because I had, pretty much no work experience apart from, trying to dabble a bit in running my own business. Yeah, I just wanted the money, essentially, which I know is a massive draw for a lot of people, especially. So started off in 2016. I just turned 19, started off with Randstad and, spent a good couple of years with them across some different sectors and did really well. And kind of the same story, in my younger years, I've never been super slim, super active. I wasn't, genetically gifted or anything as that. So for me, it was super, super easy for me to gain weight, essentially. So, a couple of stone I put on and didn't really notice. I don't think you really notice, you're too busy on looking at your paychecks and going out for Friday drinks to even care about your weight. You're just loving life, aren't you? Because you're young and you're getting all this money and, your friends are there in, absolutely skin, and you're thinking life's pretty good. So I was in recruitment till 2021, so 5 years. Did it both in Australia and the UK and travelled around a bit with it and worked for a few different businesses and, did love it. But I think it got to a point for me, especially where I'd gained, 70 pounds. So, quite a bit of weight. I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'3". And it got to a point where I think my unhappiness was outweighing the benefits of what the job was. And I think I had completely put everything about myself on hold. And when Friday drinks, the fun starts to wear off a bit, my energy was rock bottom, and my career had peaked, and then I started to go downhill because I was losing confidence. I wasn't confident going to client meetings. I didn't like the way that I looked. I started to become quite snappy, quite emotional. I felt, quite victimized. And, I wasn't 19, 20 anymore with an abundance of energy. Life started to hit a bit harder, and, I was getting into my 20s, and was this what I really wanted for myself? So a bit of a wake-up call, really. And that's when, I started to make my own journey. So I did lose the weight while I was in recruitment. I didn't leave the job. It was a process in the last couple of years of being in work.
How did you do that? That's it. We're desperate to find out. How did you get around to doing that? Because we've done yo-yo diets before. I've lost tons of weight doing stuff like boxing and this sort of thing, but it's all at an extreme kind of waking up at 4 a.m. and then it always ends in a terrible blowout at the end, where I've stayed sober for 3 months and then I drink for an entire 3 months, and it's just never sustainable, right? So how did you do that?
So, don't get me wrong, I made some massive mistakes, and my journey took a long time of ups and downs. It wasn't like I woke up one day, decided to start running 5Ks and meditating and not drinking, because that's not real life. You know, I'd done the swimming world, and, you know, I'd started off, and I did swimming world was okay for me, you know, for a year or so, just to get a bit of basic nutritional element in there, because I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. You know, I started going to gym classes at Pure Gym, and I slowly started just to build myself up. Now, the biggest advice that I can give is you can't start adding all these new elements to your life on top of an already hectic lifestyle. And the biggest advice I can give is you have to make sacrifices. So for me, I knew if I went out on a Friday night and went out for after work drinks, that would roll into a hangover on Saturday. I'd eat bad on Saturday. I'd probably go out for more drinks to get over my hangover. And suddenly I've been great Monday to Thursday, but then Friday to Sunday, I am just self-destructing. So for me, I had to give up them Friday night drinks. And it wasn't the calories and alcohol. It wasn't anything that people think it is. It was the knock-on effect on my mental capability to use that weekend productively to get prepared for my week ahead. I think it's little things like that just making them small changes and not eradicating it from your life, but go to end of quarter drinks and have a massive blowout rather than every single week. So that one little change allows you to have mental clarity for them 3 days over the weekend, and you can start thinking clearer and acting more proactively. But you can't burn the candle at both ends, is what I always say. You can't have everything. People love to have the body of the dreams, the bank balance of the dreams, and the job of the dreams. Doesn't work like that. There's a sacrifice that is made somewhere along the line when somebody is, you know, succeeding in a part of their life.
Did you manage to do that? Just make a decision one day, go, right, I'm going to cut Friday night drinks, and then stick to it. How did you stick to it, if you did or if you didn't?
Main thing is actually not being persuaded by others. Now, recruitment has got a massive culture, you know, come out for drinks, do this, do that. And you've got to really stick to your guns. And it's very, very hard because you're surrounded by a lot of people that are living a very unhealthy lifestyle. But you've got to kind of keep realigning yourself with your goals. And the biggest question to ask yourself when you're doing anything on your weight loss journey, say to yourself, is this getting me further towards my goal or further away from my goal? And once you start thinking like that, it will instantly snap you out of bad decisions. Because when you tell yourself, this is getting myself further away from my goal, you suddenly don't enjoy it as much. It takes a massive amount of mental resilience, I'm not going to lie. But if you know that you're going out at the end of the quarter, you've not said, right, I'm never going out for drinks again. You've got an event coming up. You can look forward to it. But when you start trying to eradicate alcohol completely, all you can think about is wanting a drink because you've told yourself you can't have one. And that is the mistake that most people make. They eliminate something completely out of the diet. If you love a Chinese takeaway, right, I'm going to have a Chinese takeaway on a Saturday night. I'm just going to have one takeaway a week. You're still having that takeaway, but you're not having it 3-4 times a week. So it's little changes like that.
The recruitment lunches were the one, that kind of office culture of everyone going to get food locally. We're based in London, and I think ever since lockdown, there used to be like salad restaurants in every corner, but they seem to have gone. So everyone's coming back with these like Burger King meals. Katsu curries is the worst one, isn't it? Because that smells incredible.
Get me in K10.
I really katsu curries on, because I lived in London for 3 months with Randstad on a training course just Monday to Friday, and I must have gained about a stone in that 3 months because I was living in a Premier Inn down the road, and I had a katsu curry every single day for my lunch, every day for 3 months.
I think
that's where you got that from.
Yeah, good question.
What is it called? The main place. It's a chain, and they do sushi.
Wasabi.
Yeah. Do you know the one with the white rice and they pour it on in that big round tub? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know it so well.
Yeah, I know exceedingly well.
I remember our first year, we had this, it was like a culture if you were late that you had to go and get the whole office lunch, right? It used to be called a lunch run. And in the early days of our company, there was only like 5 of us in London. So you'd have to then go and knock on the doors of all the other shared offices saying, I'm nipping down to KFC. Does anyone want anything? Just because if you turned up late. So every Thursday, someone would do this. But it would make you go, right, yeah, let's get the KFCs in. It was a 3-piece variety meal. I remember it to this day. But you'd come back with bags of this chicken, whack it on the table, start eating it. And then if I think back on that, because that must be a metabolism thing when you were younger, because I was eating KFCs about 3 times a week. And then katsus, all of that sort of stuff would be filling up the rest of the lunches. And I've always been big, but when you look at the calories when you're doing diets now in them things, you're just like, oh my God, I mean, a whole week's allowance in a lunchtime. Japanese canteen was the number one for me. That was a serious katsu.
Yeah, we've had some proper lunches. You decided, right, I'm going to start cutting the Friday drinks. Started from that. Is that all that you needed to start to trim your weight and it worked for you? Or did you need to step that up? Because I'm thinking at the moment, right, if I cut something like that out, I've got a big goal to hit here. We got 50 kilos to move. Is me trimming off one of my evenings drinking a week going to cut it? Or is that just a stepping stone? Then you make other sacrifices? Where does it go from there?
It's definitely a stepping stone. Now, you have to figure out what the issue that you feel you have is the most. Now, I was a massive drinker. I had 3-4 day hangovers. That's when my binge eating would occur. So I could pinpoint that was, although it's just Friday night drinks, for me, that was a massive contributing factor. For you guys, it might be something different. It might be nipping out for your lunches and choosing unhealthy options. So you've got to pinpoint and find out exactly what the problem is that you think you're facing and find a solution to that problem. Not everyone's is going to be the same. So yes, it doesn't sound, like a big deal, but when I got up on a Saturday and I was fresh, I could go do my food shopping, and that then rolled on into having, preparing some healthy lunches for the week ahead. And it was a knock-on effect because I had the energy to do it, because drinking was my issue. So it depends what your problem is. And if you tell me, then I can, more than happy to give you some honest advice.
Ian, what's your problem?
So I've done long periods sober, and I completely get what you're saying. It's Saturday mornings, I'm first in the barbers, that sort of stuff. And that's time that I would never be awake at that point. And every time I go back to alcohol, there's a ripple effect to that where, everything gets a little bit more lethargic. I also find that I have zero self-control if I had a single glass of red wine yesterday. Today, I'm already snacking on a load of crap because in my mind, it's like if I've broken, then it's done. And I don't feel 100%. My brain then wavers. I notice every single time I'm slightly stressed, which is 95% of my life, the rubbish comes out and I start eating a load of stuff. So I do think booze is a little trigger, but
stress is also a trigger.
This is the thing, it's on.
Immediately, like what I can see from you is you're getting stressed. Stress is causing you to have a drink. Having your drink is causing you to make bad food choices. So the drink is not the problem, it's the stress. So for you, you'd need to look at lowering your stress levels. Now, it's easier said than done, but just to give you a bit of science here, if you're interested, another problem that you have when you work in recruitment or any high stressful job is that you have high levels of cortisol, which is your stress hormone. Now, the problem with this is cortisol is essentially like a fight or flight hormone. Now, if you have very high levels of that, your body clings onto fat because it's protecting you, because it thinks it's in danger, because it's stressed. We're animals at the end of the day, and I think a lot of people forget that. So a massive proportion of making weight loss very difficult is that people just try and go in a caloric deficit and hit a step target. The stress levels are still through the roof. That is causing the weight loss to be far harder. And on top of that, sleep is it's about 25% contributing factor to your metabolism. So you're not sleeping well, you're highly stressed, you can be hitting all the steps in the healthy eating you want. It's going to be painful. So you need to work at like the basics of the habits and the routines that are nothing to do with weight loss, which will just naturally help you, lose a hell of more weight. And when you mention when people say, oh, well, when I was younger, I had a quicker metabolism, you had less stress. You might not have had a family, kids, a mortgage, less stress, like, less fat. And it's a big point that people don't even consider, especially in high stressful jobs.
And how would you combat stress? I'm training for a marathon at the moment. Everyone says running's a great way to reduce stress, but I don't feel any less stressed. I feel more stressed at the thought of running 14K or whatever it is on the weekend. That's just another thing to think about. How do you handle that?
So personally, I get overwhelmed on an evening. So I get my greatest ideas when I'm trying to go to bed. And like, I'm sure you've had it, you're going to sleep and you're like, oh, that candidate could be good for that job. And oh my God, what about that company forgot to ring in your brain? It just starts going, doesn't it? So having a notebook at the side of your bed, and anytime a thought pops in, write it down, get it out of your brain and stop your brain ticking. Now, I like to journal. I've only been started doing this recently. One of my clients, actually, who's on my program, bought me a book called The Greatest Self-Help Book, written by you, by Vex King. And it's an empty self-help book. And you write it because you're writing your own self-help. So every night it takes about a minute to fill out, super quick. You know, you're not sat there writing for hours, and you just have to rate your day, your mood, and you put any thoughts or feelings down on that. I can shut that book and go to bed because I know it's written down, it's out of my brain. Now, that little element naturally just decreases my stress and improves my sleep. Other things that you can do, you know, is meditation. Now, this is one for years I thought, I'm never going to start frigging meditating. And my brother started meditating through the Headspace app, you know.
Yeah,
he got
I've heard
really
about
good at
it.
it. Yeah, and he recommended it to me. And I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. So, you know, I'm no meditating pro, but oh my God, it is fantastic. And you know, so finding out what you're stressed about, what is it you're stressed about, because that depends how you attack it. If it's work, it's going to be different from home, isn't it? So, but managing stress levels will be the biggest changing factor, because if you're on a weight loss journey and you're thinking, right, I've now got to watch my calories, track my food, I need to do running, I need to do, that is adding stress. Like, let's alleviate some stress first before we start adding more stress on.
Yeah, I've got a tendency to just pile more and more and more and more and more things on. So that makes a lot of sense. With the Headspace app, though, I tried it a few years back and I had the headphones on in bed. And my missus just thought that I'd fallen asleep with the headphones. So she comes along, takes the headphones off, and I'm like, what are you doing? Frighten the life out of her. When do you do that? Is that during the day? Do you do it at night? Like, how do you incorporate it into your day?
Whatever works for you now. I like to do it at night because I struggle with going to sleep. So for me, it's like a part of a wind down ritual. I'll do it, and you're best doing it on a hard floor, not a bed, because a bed's soft and you want to be able to feel the weight of your body. So I just literally lay down on my bedroom floor. I thought, if anyone comes in here now, they'll think I'm freaking crazy. I mean, I don't know who's going to be coming in my bedroom, but yeah, I lay on my bedroom floor. And then once I've done that and I feel like, you know, calm, then I'll do my journal and then I'll go to sleep. But there is daytime ones that you can do, you know, 5 minutes where you can just put your earphones in, even at your desk, and just listen to it, or, you know, book a meeting room and just have a bit of a de-stress. Because the problem that you have, especially when you're weight loss journey and you're stressed, is that you're very fatigued. So you're exhausted mentally after a day at work. And that's where people think, I can't get to the gym, I'm knackered. Like, I'm too tired to cook a meal, because they're mentally exhausted. So you need to learn to control your energy levels. And rather than you being burnt out by 2 p.m, spreading your energy over a long period of time and trying to manage that. And, you know, how I used to do it is I thought the world was ending if I didn't get a fee or a candidate didn't turn up for an interview. I was like up here, like instantly, like panic mode. And you just need to kind of think what will be, will be. No one's died. You know, your reputation isn't burnt forever, because we put ourselves in these real, like, stressful states because of the job that we're in. And you can't win every battle. You can't get every fee. And what's more important? Sometimes you're more important than, you know, Dave who's accepted a counter offer.
If you had advice for recruitment business leaders, knowing what you know now, what would it be, and what would you advise the recruitment industry to do potentially differently? Because the stress you're talking about all comes from layers of, like, that fee being missed means that the boss's target isn't hit, and then that means that the investors aren't happy, and it's just this chains of just stress, right? So what would be your advice for a recruitment business to make it better for their employees? Because another angle to that is I've seen so many people leave for these reasons. Like, I don't have time to do the gym, or I don't have time, I don't feel happy, I don't feel myself. And in the London office, I think I had about 140 people at one point, and that was a regular reason why people would leave. So how would you do it differently if you were in the shoes of the business leaders, and how could you get potentially a better work-life balance in the recruitment industry?
I think a major problem you've got with recruitment leaders is they were, you know, brought up doing recruitment in the 80s and 90s, where it was party, work hard, play hard. And we've all kind of moved on as a generation, but then you've still got these recruitment leaders that are under this, you know, you don't leave your desk till 8 o'clock, or, you know, you're seen as, you know, you're not working hard enough. And ultimately, recruitment, I reckon it's one of the highest turnover of staff. I would have regular working hours or flexible working hours. So for example, you might do 3 days where you do super early starts, like 7 a.m. till 3 p.m, or 3 days later finishes, but there is no need for you to be working that job till 7-8 o'clock at night. There's just absolutely no need. Like, how do you spread it out? Work with your industries. Like, depending what industry you have, you might want to start early, but if you're starting at 6-7 a.m, you should be leaving at 2-3 o'clock, because you're getting people, and in recruitment, it's majority age is like 18 to 30, isn't it? Because people are burnt out and they've had enough. So realistically, they're almost getting the most money and time out of people when they're in the peak, and then they burn out and they get a load of fresh grads in. But if you're wanting to build a really sustainable recruitment brand, which are trusted and have got these relationships that last over for decades, they need to be looking at it differently. And for me, it would almost be, no one would be allowed to eat at the desks, because they don't think of the bigger picture, do they? Like, they just allow people to, if you go out, I remember used to go, if I'd go out on my lunch for half an hour and pick something up from like Topshop, like the directors would look and think I've gone on a bloody shopping spree on my lunch break. And it was that really like causing yourself more anxiety. So difficult, isn't it? But it depends what the recruitment business want. And unfortunately, I think a lot of recruitment businesses are quite happy to have high billers, have them, last there 3 to 5 years and then get a load of new grads in. But the right way of moving forward, because training and mentoring people and having people not bill and for a couple of years is so costly to a business, but they're just not thinking longer term.
And do you miss the recruitment job?
No.
None of the kind of stress of the deal or trying to place people or anything like that? Do you not miss any of that at all?
Well, no, because I run my own business now, isn't it? So I've got my own targets to hit, and I'm still financially very driven. But what I do miss is the social side. I work for myself now. I don't have any colleagues. I don't have anyone to throw banter with around the office. But yeah, I've made some really, really good friends for life. And I do think that recruitment made me who I am in terms of confidence and being able to speak to people at all levels. And, I'd recommend it for any young person who is a bit stuck in life and doesn't want to go to university. I think it's a great stepping stone. And this is definitely not me saying, recruitment is all evil, because it definitely isn't. I think it's just about actually balancing it and not, ruining yourself through the process, and having a bit of balance there.
Did you say that you worked in Australia?
Yeah.
I've got friends that live out there and they always say that it's a very like health driven place. Is it noticeably different culture wise from a work perspective out there? Yeah,
100%. So I started in Melbourne for Hayes, and Hayes are like the biggest recruiters out there. They're huge and very, very corporate, far more relaxed. You do your basic salaries are far higher, yet the commission isn't as high. They do the odd drinks, but again, it's usually like a volleyball on the beach. It's not, let's go out until 4 a.m. and throw up on each other. Like, you know what I mean? So it's definitely, definitely different, but yeah, not as fun. Not as fun.
So you were in Melbourne. How long were you there for?
I was in Australia for a total for a year. I went over initially to work for Hayes, and I went on a working holiday visa with the hope to get sponsored so I can stay. And I did get offered the sponsorship with Hayes, but I was just miserable. And I think it's because, and I think you go to Australia, you're thinking, oh, amazing, new culture, everything like that. I'm still in an office for 10 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So am I actually traveling? No, because I'm in an air-conned office. I could be in Manchester. I wouldn't even know the difference. I'm in a skyscraper. So after 6 months, I thought I can either stick with this business for 3 or 4 years, which I'd have to under sponsorship, or I can, go elsewhere and go do a bit of traveling.
Yeah, I noticed that. I used to travel out to Amsterdam, and everyone's like, that must be amazing. Amsterdam's a crazy place. I saw a hotel room and the office. That was it. There was nothing more. I think I went out once in the 6 months I was there. It's just, I completely get that.
I spent probably 2 years opening 10 offices. The amount of dinners I've had sat on a hotel bed on my own is absolutely bonkers. And you can't possibly cook. And then, try and walk around, Berlin, Amsterdam, whatever, with your tiredness and your stress levels where they are with all the travel, and, force yourself to try and hunt out a salad or a healthy dinner that's takeawayable to your bed at the hotel. Like, you're just not going to do it. I mean, going to places like Berlin and that, I always all the time. Core, stack some weight on that.
Okay, this is the concept of why we're doing this. We started a WhatsApp group, 2 years ago, maybe?
Easily.
Where we would, the kind of...
Belly boys.
The belly boys of the office decided to post their weight every Monday. If I had put on a stone or dropped a stone, it would be in there. I think Bob was the same. And then a few others would like not do it and blame it on the batteries going and all this nonsense. And that group actually ended up being the bolt opposite of like a support group to lose weight, because it was everyone just going, do you know what? Done 20 pints, got away with it this weekend. It's just like, and by the end of it, we were finding ways to actually kind of commend each other on the blowouts that we had. So it went to the bolt opposite end. Some bloke did like 10,000 calories in a weekend. Our goal is to get to 110 kilograms. I think at my best, I've been about 122, and that was in the early kind of boxing days. We've chose 110 because from the health checks that we've had, taking the fat off us, we would be 100 kilograms. So that gives us 10 kilograms of fat left, which I think I would look buff at that point, right? And that's all my goal is to look buff. I'm getting married in 3 months. So if I can lose all 50K in 3 months, that would be phenomenal, which I don't think is
phenomenal work.
So how would you go about this? How do you chop this mountain down? Because at the moment, I've signed up to run the London Marathon, and I've never run before. I've signed up to a Man v Fat charity football league. I've got 15 different gym memberships, and I've got a dog that I've got to walk as well now, which has all been part of the transformation plan. And I'm not really losing weight, but I am getting better at running. Bob, I'll probably let you say your situation a bit better.
Yeah, I'm with you with the multiple gym memberships. I'm now using a PT to try and inspire them. I've been using a PT for a while, but not really committing to I think the biggest issue actually is I'll get on a bit of a routine. I'll do something well. And then like this weekend's coming, I've got stag do this weekend. Getting my good routine that I've got to have it on for maybe 2, 3, even 7 or 8 weeks back after I have a holiday or have something come up or have my blowout weekend. Throughout my 10 to 15 years of dieting, trying to lose weight, all that good stuff, there's loads of periods where I've got a month or two of great work under my belt, and then just almost like I come back from these holidays or whatever, these events, and then I even forget what the routine was or what I was even doing. I'm like, it's just completely gone. So getting that any way to keep on track and get that back, or it's another excuse, isn't it, really? Like, that's what it is. You get on the blowout train and then you go, right, this is great. But that probably comes from lacking, giving up too much in the first place. I've probably got on a good run because I've quit everything, and I'm like, oh, this is great. It's fucking easy.
Do you want me to give you a little mini action plan then?
Yeah,
listen, mini or massive, whatever you've got, even if it's one thing that's going to change us, that would be great.
So first thing I want you to do is go on your phone and tell me your daily average steps.
In 2023, my average steps a day is 3,519.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. I'm averaging 3,500 a day at the minute.
Over the last 7 days, 9,322. But there's a 14K run in there.
What would you kind of say yours is then, generally speaking?
So should I do it over a little longer period than that? Over the last year, it's 6,377.
Right then, quick lesson. So, ever seen this before?
No.
Okay. So, put it really simply. TDEE. So this basically means total daily energy expenditure. So if you were to literally be in a coma for 24 hours and all your body needed to do is keep your natural organ functions alive, you would have a percentage of an amount of calories that you need to eat to keep your basic functions alive. Okay. So that's your TDEE. You will both have a number. If you go on a TDEE calculator, you can put in all your bits and bats and it will tell you that number. It'll tell you that calorie burn. So this is the easiest way to lose weight, keep it off. This is science. Scientific fact. This isn't something I've made up. This is if you type TDEE into it. 70% of your TDEE, so what you burn in a 24-hour period, is down to your BMR, so your basal metabolic rate. So if this is shit, 70% is shit of you trying to lose weight. So your BMR, there's so many factors that affect that. One being your sleep, the amount of muscle mass that you've got in your body. All these have big affecting functions to your BMR levels. So if you're sat all day not moving, this is going to slow right down. Hydration. If you're not getting at least 3 to 4 litres in a day, hydration's got a 25% contributing factor to this number. So simply drinking 3 or 4 litres of water a day can significantly improve this. Now, let's think 70%. So most of our focus wants to be, how do we get a better metabolic rate? So that's your first thing we want to look at. Second thing is something called NEAT. So this is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is 15%. So this is making a brew, going to the toilet, chatting shit with your mate in the kitchen. It's just daily movement that isn't exercise. So your heart rate's still low. It's just daily movement. Second most important thing. So that's your step count, essentially. That's why I give everyone a step count. Then 10% is your TEF. So that's thermal effective feeding. That is basically what you eat. So protein, fats, and carbs. They're the 3 different macronutrients that every food is built up of. So if you have a high protein diet, protein is about a 30% TEF. So you eat 1,000 calories of protein, you're only going to absorb 700. The other 300 are burnt during the metabolic process because it's hard to break down. It's a big molecule. Whereas fats and carbs, about 5%. So you eat 950 calories of fat or carb, 50 is going to be used in the metabolic breakdown, 950 is going to stick. So what you eat is a massive factor, and a calorie is not a calorie. So that's why a high protein diet excels fat loss, because 30% of it is being expelled anyway. So you can eat more of it. Happy days. And then 5% is eat. Now, eat is exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is your running, your gym, your cardio. So what the mistake people have is they start doing a load of this and then they don't sort any of this out. Weight loss is hard, weight loss is painful, weight loss is slow. So you're making your life hard for yourself. So what do? We get hydrated, we get a solid sleep schedule in, we start reducing stress levels and cortisol, getting this working really effectively. Then we start increasing NEAT. So daily steps, standing up every hour can have a massive effect on your metabolism. Just set an alarm, stand up, walk for 2 minutes, sit back down. TF, high protein diet, hitting your protein goals. And yeah, go to the gym when you can, add it in, strength training, fantastic. That is basically what I feel is the solution. Has worked for me, has worked for hundreds of people I've helped. Actually getting this sorted first and worrying a bit less about running marathons and putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be super fit, because it's not going to help you lose the fat.
And with the high protein diets, let's say in Bob's situation, flying around the world, I occasionally travel, that sort of stuff. Where would you shop? What would you eat? That sort of thing. What would be a good healthy meal that's probably high street bought? Because in theory, KFC's got a load of protein, right? But also has a shitload of fat.
Yeah. So it depends completely where you are. Nando's is an easy one. Pretty simple. Even McDonald's, today what did I have today? I had a double quarter cheese pounder, and I'll show you because I put it on my little community forum talking to women that they can serve at McDonald's. 51 grams of protein, 750 calories. Yes, it's high in calories. Yes, it's high in protein. Can I still fit it within my macros? Yeah, quite easily. Look, putting it here, putting it on for everyone to see. Because this isn't about sitting there eating salad, and that's what I say to people. It's about being, relative, and no matter where you are in the world, you're going to be able to get some type of meat source and a vegetable. Like, you don't need to find a salad bar to have a balanced nutrition meal. Like, you could have a roast dinner, meat, veggies, potato, one of the best meals that you can have. Toby Carvery, just don't add the bloody load of cranberry sauce and it'll be all right. So people overthink it. I think people's perspective of like healthy food is, chicken and rice or broccoli or salad or light dressing, and real normal food is absolutely fine. That isn't the one that's making you fat. It's everything else. The main priorities, if you are working away, what I would say is concentrating on being in your calorie deficit and making sure you're hitting a reasonable protein goal. Now, the new law brought out that, restaurants now have to provide you nutritional information if you ask for it. So there is really no excuse. If you ask for it, they have to provide it for you. They will have it for you. So even if it's not on the menu, you will be able to find it out.
When that first came out and you're sitting there, well, I was sitting there on Deliveroo going, fucking hell, Nando's is like 1,000 calories.
And
Well, I've got a question on this. What we're saying here is this bottom section, this BMR, if we get that right, that's the quickest ticket to making your body tick better and losing weight, right? Because it has the biggest impact. Is that what we're saying?
that and calorie deficit, yes. So you can't scientifically lose weight without being in a calorie deficit, because eating in a calorie deficit is just you are eating less than your body burns. That's a negative value as a result that you lose fat. But what I was trying to emphasize from here, and I think it was on your point on like all this stuff that you've signed up to, on all this pressure you're putting yourself on to go running and everything like that, your focus is, you know, in my opinion, that is the least effective, because you're thrashing all your energy into something that's 5%. Like, wouldn't your time be best spent rather than running on maybe going on a low impact walk with your dog and reducing your stress levels, listening to a podcast, something that's going to mentally make you feel better about yourself. And that's going to be in here. It's going to be in neat. And then it's going to help lower your stress, and you're going to get out in nature and enjoy yourself rather than thinking, oh my God, I'm so fat. This is so hard. I'm so unfit. Like, you don't need to run. I mean, I don't run. I've not, run for the bus. That's about it. But almost running can put your body under too much stress as well, especially if you're carrying a load of extra weight, because it's putting all that pressure on your heart. So, start here. Take the pressure off yourself to be, fit and running marathons overnight. It's not like that. It's taken, decades to essentially put the weight on. So you can't expect it to be an overnight. And I think what you mentioned there, Rob, about going for like a weekend away and then coming back and being off the bandwagon, like, you don't need 100% of the votes to win the election, do you? Like, you just need to be doing well the majority of the time. You don't need to be perfect. No one's perfect. This isn't 100% being on it. This is, an 80-20, 80% of the time, you're doing the right things 20% of the time. You're living your best life, because we are only here once, aren't we? So you need to understand that balance is normal, and it doesn't mean that you have let yourself down, done anything wrong. Nothing like that. You've just got to understand that there is a balance there, and there has to be a balance there for it to work long term. And that's why giving up alcohol don't work if you like a drink, because you're not going to necessarily majority of the time give it up for the rest of your life.
I've never heard of this though. This is flipping the script on what I've we've always gone right, just move on, drive ourselves into the ground. But what you're saying makes a bit more sense. The stress level thing, I've never heard about the cortisol aspect and how that's affecting all this linked to your sleep and stuff. Like, we both live high stress lives.
So are you completely teetotal now?
No, I love a drink. I practice what I preach. I eat McDonald's. I love a night out. I've not changed as a person because I've lost weight. I don't have any different views. I just, majority of the time, 80% of the time, I'm putting myself first. 20% of the time, I'm dancing on tables and drinking tequila. Of course I am. I'm 26. So, this is what I teach, that balance is everything. And, it's really, really important that you don't put restrictions on yourself. And every time you set yourself something new, think, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, don't set it for yourself.
What's the healthiest way to get smashed?
Clear spirits.
Fine, all over that.
It's the beer, guys. It's the beer that is the bloody killer for the guys.
Beer's quality, though, isn't it? Getting smashed on pints is great fun.
What are you doing now then? So you experience, a life in recruitment, and it probably relates to a lot of people in the corporate world, right? That go through the struggles of having to move, or not having the best lifestyle, not finding ways to move as much, and whack a load of weight on. You've now left that world.
Well, I founded a business called the Elevate Program. It was only back in October last year that I started properly. So still in the early stages, about 6 months in now. Obviously it was pretty, I feel like I need to go back a bit, because it sounds like I'm just jumping from recruitment into being a coach, doesn't it? But so when I came back from Australia, I got a job as a sales manager within a manufacturing company, because I couldn't get a job in recruitment. Because I live really, really rural. So this was pre-COVID. So there was no such thing as remote working.
Right.
So for me to get a job in recruitment, I would then have an hour and a half commute and an hour and a half commute on the way back. So I thought, you know what, when I came back, I thought, I'm just going to get a sales job. got one down the road, just thought make my life a bit easier. COVID hit and I got made redundant. And then during that period, that's when I really ramped up my fitness, because I thought, I've been made redundant, like secretly a bit happy because I thought, I've got this time. It's April, the sun's now coming out. So I spent the entirety of COVID training myself as hard as I could to get myself in a really, really good physical condition. And I literally, my granddad is a joiner and he dropped off a tractor tire, and I flipped a tractor tire up and down my garden for months.
Super.
So just basic. Obviously the gyms weren't open. So I did that, and then I just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with training. You know, went into my personal training qualification and then got a job at Pure Gym as a personal trainer. And then, just started to, felt like I absolutely loved personal training, loved helping people, but I was so business minded and so like driven that I felt like there's only so much you can do by standing next to somebody counting reps. So that's when I had the idea of, where I've been in a position here and there's thousands of other women that I'm sure that were in the position I was in. How can I help them on a wider scale? So that's how the idea came of the Elevate program and helping women, overcome what I struggled with, and breaking it down very, very simply. Like, that what I've just shown you there is just a very small slice of what I teach people and how to make this sustainable and how to get them the result. But, eradicating this whole idea of quick fixes and fad diets and having a different approach to it, and understanding that I can't say to a woman, look, wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym, because I know that's not appropriate for that lifestyle. And I think there was such a gap in the market for it, because every coach I'd come across had been athletic all their life and they'd never gone and sat in an office for 12 hours a day. So they could not resonate with these people. So started that in October, and it's just gone from strength to strength. And, I've helped over 100 women now.
Nice.
And counting.
Amazing.
So it's focused on women. And so you have it, Elevate program is what it is, right? So what's the high level overview of what the Elevate program does and how it works?
Yeah, so it's 9 weeks. The women are with me for a total of 9 weeks, and we go through a phase state basically. So you have a full week of onboarding, and that's when you basically write down what exercises you hate, because I don't want people to hate exercise. You write down everything you hate, you despise, and things that you maybe want to learn. So, I don't want to be anxious. I want to be able to walk in the gym and not feel anxiety. I want to be able to go pick up a dumbbell, like whatever it is they want to achieve. Or it might just be that they want to do stuff from home or with the kids, completely depends. So this is all built custom upon their circumstances, because everyone is so different. So they do a full week of onboarding, which is a mixture of like questionnaires, goal setting, and what I really start to understand what they're struggling with and what specifically they need help with. They might have emotional eating, binge eating, so many different problems. They might have a problem with alcohol. So we get all that out in week 1. And then based upon their answers and what we come to the conclusion, I build a strategy. So they go through 3 phases, ignite, build, and compound. And put it really simply, ignite is about basic habits and routines. So hydration goal, step goal, let's look at sleeping patterns. Let's look at your mindset and reducing your stress levels, just like what I said to you guys, like the basic BMR stuff. So they do that over the course of the couple of first weeks. And then they move into phase 2, which is about building really, really strong BMR. One way to do that is building lean muscle mass. So that's when I start increasing their confidence and start helping them with weightlifting, teaching them how to lift weights properly, whether that be at home or in the gym. And then phase 3 is compound. So they've got energy levels back, they're not feeling lethargic, and that's when we might want to start setting goals like Tough Mudder or 5K or half marathon or whatever it is they've always wanted to achieve in life. We do that at the point when they've got all the basics covered. So it's a very small sort of building block process, and along the way, every single week they learn a new topic which is dedicated about what they're struggling with. So for example, it might be alcohol or building a strong BMR or motivation or how to increase your protein or how to eat healthy in a recruitment job. So whatever it is, they have a new topic every week they learn about. And then when they finish, yes, they may not be at their end result, but they have got everything they need now to continue that. And they've been shown the sustainable way over a longer period of time. That's basically it.
So are you talking to them one-on-one, or is it a group? Is there like a community where they all kind of help each other out? How does it work?
So it's one-on-one coaching. So I, at the moment, won't coach anywhere above 30 women because I'm the only person in the business and it is a lot of work, obviously.
Yeah.
There is a wider community. So I've built a coaching software with a company called Everfit. So this is something that they've got an app for. It is all built by me, but it's all in one place. Within that, we have like community forums where we talk about common problems. And all the women can talk to each other and like build friendships and support each other and celebrate success. So there's a big community element to it, but it is a one-to-one service. I work with that person directly on what they're struggling with.
It's amazing, isn't it? So you've helped 100 women now. Is that 100 women have done the course? Now their kind of lives are changed in the sense that they've got all the tools to help them get in the right place and meet their goals, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And most women, they finish and, they're quite content and they're quite happy just to carry on doing what they're doing. And then if they do feel like they need more support from me or, they really want to push it to the next level, then they can opt to have more coaching from me. But I think the people that have stayed on longer term, it's more because we've just kind of built a relationship up and, they'd like to have me in their life as a positive influence and to keep helping them. So
sounds amazing, by the way. Sounds great.
Where's your aspirations to take it? Like, what would be a great company for you in the future?
I think just getting other people to come on as coaches. Now, it's a really, really hard one because I'd love to have more people in this with me rather than me just doing it on my own. But because I've got such strong moral standpoints and views, a lot of people from the coaching and personal training background don't have the same, because they will put people in extreme deficits to get amazing before and afters, and they'll thrash them in the gym for 6 weeks on these shreds so they can post, look at my clients before and after. That's not me. That's not what I'm about. So I'd love to expand, but I think if I were to expand, it would be, I'd have to be really selective or, either train somebody myself or even, someone on the elevator program who's done it and been there and got the transformation. There is two people that I'm speaking to at the moment who have made some serious transformations, and potentially looking at them to bring them on, as well as maybe just more mentor coaching as well.
PTs often do that, right? So if you go and see a personal trainer, they'll want to look at how fast can they get a reaction, how fast can they change your process, all of the setting up your weight, you kind of weight exercise with them, as well as maybe the additional sessions you'll do on your own, or the gym sessions, all that kind of stuff. Your approach is slightly different in that way. Do you find that your client base, there's some similarities in your client base who maybe want to avoid that particular experience, or have had that and have not enjoyed it? Or how do you find your client base is molded because of that?
So I'm definitely not here, bashing PTs. I was a PT myself, and there's some fantastic trainers around there. And if you go to a personal trainer, their job is to get you in good shape. So they're doing completely the right thing by, trying to train you and give you exercise and things like that. The problem is they are not essentially getting paid enough, and they've not got enough hours to sit there and say, right, do you binge eat on a Saturday afternoon? Because they don't care that you're there to train. So it's not necessarily that their service is worse. It's just different. It's just a different service. Now, a lot of the women that I coach, they've done everything. They're at the bitter end. Majority of my clients, I'd say, between the ages of 30 and 60, they've done 10 years of dieting and keto and Slimming World and running and, and that is what appeals to me. If I get anybody who is trying to do a real quick 6-week shred for a wedding or something like that, I'll always say, look, this ain't going to be the right process for you, because they're going to be disappointed.
That's what I need. It's not a shred. I think it's a different level to a shred. It's more kind of life coaching than just your standard PT offering. Because I think the fitness industry is quite an intimidating place for people that aren't in it. And there's PTs that I know that kind of have podcasts and everything where they talk about this like amazing life that they have. And I think the relatability of what you're saying is the thing that's missing. This kind of like breaking down how bad sugar is for you when you're looking at a person at 0% body fat, and you're just like, it tastes fucking great to me, mate. I think what you're doing is amazing. I think that's precisely what the world needs. I also think it's really difficult to make money in the health world as a PT, so the volume play is always there. So if it's a program to then get groups of people on and or do it on a one-on-one for a much longer period for a more sustained way to then go, you hopefully won't need me again. I think that's fantastic. That's exactly what I've missed in everything.
I could have
I've
done
been
that
doing.
15 years ago.
Yeah, over the years, probably picked up enough advice to be able to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and being our first guest. But
It's been great. How do people get hold of you, Sophie? What's the contact for you if anyone's listening and wants to be a part of the journey or get some advice from you?
On Instagram, it's at the Elevate 9. So it's the number 9. So at the Elevate 9. LinkedIn, Sophie Langley, and Facebook, the Elevate program. Now, I have actually built a free mini course for anybody needing help, but is not in a financial position to pay for coaching. So if you just pop me a message on anything, I'll send you the link. It's a private Facebook group that I've got. You could join that. There's a 5-step mini course, and this teaches you the basics of nutrition, habits, well-being, and should be able to get anyone started off if they're not in a position to actually go forward and pay for a coach.
Sophie, thank you so much again.
If you need any help, don't be afraid to pop me a message. I'm always happy to help. And if you want any free resources, I'll bob them over to you. But I love the idea of this, and I'm so excited to see you both. Hopefully,
Thank you very much again. And we'll definitely reach out, I'm sure.
100%.
No worries. Have a
Thanks,
nice
Sophie.
evening.
See you later,
Bye.
Sophie. Bye.
We've got some diet plans, health scans, sugar bans, fitness fans, PTs, injuries, laying off the Chinese, ball games, gym chains, protein gains and skin tight tops, and we ain't gonna stop until we hit the 50k. Drop, 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 no excess fat, no FAT, no curry bag, no guarantee. Rough or buff, lean on me, we'll end up as fit as a pig.